this is the second boxing event, story, thing of the day that I'm not completely sure about. The first was the Katie Taylor emeritus thing. It's not a person, emeritus. I wasn't sure about that. WBC's actions there, and I'm not sure about this either. I think it may be a misunderstanding. I don't think it stands anybody. It doesn't do the reputation of anybody any good. And it's totally inappropriate, but sadly also totally appropriate for boxing. That's the sad thing about it. This is the kerfuffle which has taken place because at the press conference for the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight, the one that they've supposedly earned, and they have because it was a great fight, the first one, Eddie Hearn said he wanted to say something, and Chris Eubank Jr. didn't want him to say something, and talked over Eddie Hearn saying, I want to say a few words about Ricky Hatton. So it did sound as though Chris Eubank was just saying, yeah, I don't want to hear that. I'm not sure that was the case, having watched it back. We know famously that Frank Warren said that when Chris Eubank Jr. made comments about him, which he subsequently reached for his lawyer about, and my understanding is that Chris Eubank Jr. said, I retract all of that. That's my understanding, not a journalist, just my views. Frank said, I couldn't really hear him because I was behind him. And they were a long way away, different sides of the hall. So maybe Chris Eubank Jr. didn't hear Eddie Hearn saying, I want to say a few words about Ricky Hatton. He wasn't saying, well, I want to talk about Ricky Hatton, so don't stop me. It wasn't that. He was being, I think, really genuine. Eddie Hearn. But I don't think that Chris Eubank Jr. necessarily, who was railroading over him and just saying, yeah, we don't want to hear what you've got to say, words to that effect, really knew it was about Ricky Hatton. However, totally inappropriate, but also, when you're thinking about boxing and the business of boxing and smacking an egg on someone's face, which happened at the press conference last year for this fight, or last time for this fight, it's totally appropriate. That's the sad thing. All that kind of me talking about it, others talking about it, the kerfuffle of all of that, selling the fight in that way, is entirely appropriate to current boxing standards for the business of boxing. And that is a real shame. Ta-ta.